Hey everyone, my name's Phoebe. I'm currently a second year PA student and I just wanted to make a quick video on 10 tips to applying to PA school, so hopefully this helps you out. If you see me glancing down periodically, it's because I have a huge list of notes so I don't miss anything. Let's just get started with number one. The first thing I would recommend is looking at your schools early and making a giant spreadsheet. This was really a lifesaver when I was applying because it helped me keep track of all the programs that I was applying to. The thing about PA school is it is grad school, it is a master's program, and unlike undergrad or a lot of PhD programs, requirements for each program can really differ greatly from program to program. It's very hard to keep track of it unless you have a giant spreadsheet. I would aim to look at around 8 to 12 schools. That's usually the recommendation. If you can apply to more, go for it. Just make sure that the quality of your applications is still super high. But on the spreadsheet, what I included were things like the school name, when the deadline was for submitting each round of apps, because you have primaries and secondary apps. Usually I would write down if it was rolling admissions, if it was regular admissions, because if it is rolling, that's on a first come first serve, so you might want to prioritize those. I would also include, do they require GRE? Do they require the CASPA? What were their prereqs? This was definitely my most looked at document while I was applying to PA school, and it was super helpful, and then you can kind of check those things off as you complete them. My second tip is to get started early and log everything early. So this is all your experiences, all your volunteer, extracurriculars, leadership roles. Have a separate document for that. Say what the activity was, what you did in it, dates that you did, how many hours approximately per week that you were in this role, and make a few important bullet points of what your role entails. And then this way, once the app opens, which it usually opens on the same day every single year, I believe it's April 25th, you'll have everything ready to enter, and that way you can spend less time on those things because it is the same every single year, and then focus on spending good time writing your secondary essays. I would recommend asking for rec letters early. Usually at least a month is the recommendation, if not longer. I definitely ask for these well in advance. And the other thing about rec letters these days is that a lot of professors or doctors or whoever you're working with who's writing these rec letters often don't have a lot of time. So they'll ask you to write a draft and then they'll either add some stuff or just send it as it is. That might also take a lot of your time. Also, something to keep in mind is that on the CASPA app, if you are retaking any classes because you didn't like your grade in the first one, it's not like some other types of programs where it'll just replace your old score with the new score. What happens is they take the average of those two and then that will be your score. Speaking about grades and GPA, I actually didn't find this out until I specifically emailed a few schools about rejections when I was like, I feel like I had a pretty high chance of getting in, so I would email them afterwards. They gave me a list of things that they look for that aren't written, their websites usually. Specifically have to ask, and one of these things was that you need a science GPA of at least 3.6. So that's the magic number. That's what I've seen across the board from multiple programs. This isn't your total GPA out of all your classes. This is specifically your science classes. So anatomy, phys, chemistry, biology, anything like that. Number 5, I recommend looking into the CASPA fee waiver if paying for programs is going to be an issue for you. They don't cover every single application, unfortunately, but they will cover the first 2. And how this works is they have a limited number of fee waivers each year. I don't know what the number is, but it is first come first serve again. So if you are having trouble paying for this is definitely something you want to look into early. And basically you'll provide a tax return of either your own or whoever claimed you as a dependent. Determine if that hits the financial need level, and then you'll receive an email whether you got it or not. And this will cover the application costs for your first 2 programs. And the caveat is you have to have both of those ready and you submit both at the same time. And that's the only way in the system that the fee waiver applies. For this year, I looked, covers a total of $245, which is helpful. So if you're applying to, let's say 10 programs, that's ready 2 out of the way, and then you'd be paying out of pocket for the remaining 8. Tip number 6, I actually didn't know about this. My partner actually told me to do this and I think it did help, but that's to get a pre-PA AAPA membership. So AAPA is the official governing body of the PA profession. They have different tiers of membership. So they have all the way from pre-PA, PA student, working PAs. I believe there's also a retiree option, but that's not what we're talking about here. The pre-PA membership is $50. It might sound like a lot, but it shows that you're very interested in this profession. You're serious about this profession when you're applying. It also opens up a ton of resources through AAPA, which I'll probably talk about in another video. I would definitely recommend getting this membership just because it shows that you're very serious about this profession. Once you become a PA student, I believe it's $75. years. I honestly can't remember if I paid the extra $25 to upgrade. It was a requirement by our school that we need to have student membership, but honestly, I feel like I just told them and they changed it for me, but don't quote me on that. Tip number 7, I would strongly recommend networking before getting into PA school. This is just networking in general is very helpful, but also these are connections that you'll probably keep throughout PA school and maybe even after when you're looking for jobs. So it's definitely important to think long term. I think talking to working PAs and getting their take is very important. I feel like a lot of things that I learned really helped me during school, and also to think about what I want to do after school just because they've been working in the profession. Basically what I did was I shadowed a lot of PAs in the areas that I wanted to work. This is another perk of the APA membership. You have access to something called Huddle. So there's tons of PAs that are linked on there. You can message, look up people specifically by area specialty, and they can mentor you. You can request to shadow them. You can just send them a quick message. And I got a lot of feedback just from doing this, and I actually shadowed a couple of PAs. By doing this, they've been willing to take me on rotations for this year. Now that I'm in my second year and doing rotations, they could also be super helpful with finding jobs later and things like that. So I definitely recommend networking and just kind of learning all you can. Tip number 8 is to attend all the info sessions of the programs that you're interested in. Pretty much every single program will do this, and basically you get to meet the faculty, learn about the program, what they stand for, what they offer. You'll also usually get time to go into breakout rooms with current PA students that are in the program where you can ask them all your questions, and it's just super helpful. Also, when doing the secondary applications, you can kind of better figure out what their program really cares about. Is it extracurriculars? Is it diversity? Whatever it is, you can kind of target and tailor your secondary to really focus on that. Number 9, I would say know your reason for wanting to become a PA. I'm going to be filming a completely separate video on this and telling you guys what my reasons were and what I said during interviews. I would definitely say know the difference between the main healthcare professions, so that's physician, PA, RN, NP, and I have a video on that which I'll link below on my website, How Med Works. You should definitely know that. I think most of the schools that I interviewed with did ask me that because they want to know why you're choosing PA specifically and not one of the other healthcare professions. I'm not going to dive into it this much because it's going to be a separate video, but I will link to it below. And then the last tip that I have, and it sounds super cheesy, but just be authentic with your entire app, with your essays, with interviews. Each program that I applied to, I'm pretty sure had well over 1,000 applicants, so you can imagine how much the applications all kind of blur after a while. If you give a very generic response, you won't stand out and you probably won't get one of the very limited seats. Just come up with stories that are very true to you, that doesn't sound like they come from just anyone that's applying. Always remember to focus on the positives, talk about what you learned, what you took away from the experience, and how you'll bring it forward into your later profession as a student and PA. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys in my next video.